Hello, hello, this is Fear Dragon here to bring you game number 3 between these two players from IEM Singapore, round of 16. If you have not seen game number 1 or game number 2 between LiquidZenio or MouzHasuObs, please go ahead and check those out by clicking on the annotation below. This is a best of 5 series, so this shouldn't be a spoiler alert or spoiler just yet. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce these players now. Spawning down here in the bottom side of Metropolis, we have the red Zerg player representing Team Liquid. He is an incredibly strong Zerg that has shown phenomenal play in the late game stages of Protoss versus Zerg. We have LiquidZenio and his opponent spawning on the top right hand corner of Metropolis. We have the blue Protoss player representing Team MouzSports Esports. It is going to be MouzHasuObs, and he is the Protoss player trying to make a comeback. He is currently down 2 games in this best of 5 series, and he needs to make some magic happen. He needs to find an answer to the Broodlords if he wants to have any chance of coming back in this best of 5 series. Now, as we jump into the game and I hide the overlay and then show the overlay and then hide the overlay again, we're going to see some standard openings coming out from both of these players, and really I feel like the ball is going to be in HasuObs' court. He needs to make something happen. It looks like he's going to open up with a Forge expand over in his base. Now, of course, this is not some kind of one base play. You just do this so that you can eventually take that Nexus immediately afterwards, and then once it comes time, the Zerg player will have a little bit of a more difficult time trying to scout out that Forge to see, oh, are they going for the +1 research or are they not? It could be very telling to see what kind of push or timing push and that the Protoss player is going to do. So Zenio going to be a little bit annoyed by that maybe, but of course HasuObs is going to get away with this just fine, as Zenio could have actually had the opportunity to punish it, and that's the reason why you don't see Protoss players go for this kind of style every single game. If you go for it every single game, you get predictable, and then Zerg players start going for super early pools. They just come in, and it's like, oh, well, I can't take my natural expansion almost ever for now, as I've just committed to defense, and I can't get up a pylon over at my natural expansion. So we're not going to be seeing any of that, so we're just going to move right along. We have 4 Zerglings popping out, going to chase away this probe, which actually, unfortunately for HasuObs, was not able to do a whole lot of damage to this hatchery in terms of just delaying it, but instead he's just going to go ahead and try and delay the hatchery over the 3rd expansion, and this is going to be worth it. I mean, he does throw down that pylon. These 2 Zerglings as well as that drone are going to get to work on it. Of course, the pylon will just barely start to lose health, and he should actually end up canceling it, but I mean, just delaying this hatchery for a good 30 seconds or so is definitely worth it in HasuObs' eyes. I mean, he's going to go ahead and try and get up those 2 gas geysers, but of course, no huge economic loss for HasuObs, just those 25 minerals from the cancellation. In the meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and get up that cybernetics core, has that cannon already completed, going to complete that little wall off, so now he can just be sure that if he just has a single probe over there, he can always wall it off with another pylon, just in case Zenio goes for anything super tricky. But it doesn't look like Zenio's planning anything like that. He's just going for that 3rd. Has not taken any gas geysers in the main. Not going to be going for some kind of crazy Baneling play or crazy Roach all in. No, he's just producing drones and playing that good old Zerg macro style. In the meanwhile, we have HasuObs, who has actually not grabbed anything out of the ordinary so far. Could actually start that +1 weapons research, but he needs to start that warp gate technology research very, very soon, as I mean, kind of interesting that he's delayed. Oh my god, he's actually going for a Stargate, it seems. Oh my god, so wait, it looks like HasuObs just okay, I was a little bit worried that he was just completely skipping the warp gate technology, but a really interesting decision to go for that Stargate first. It looks like he might actually be committing a bit to this Stargate play, as he's actually going to have delayed his warp gate technology. That's going to mean delayed gateway aggression coming out from HasuObs. If he actually does decide to do that, he could even just throw down a 2nd Stargate and really put on the pressure, but I don't think he's actually going to end up doing that. As if he was, he probably would have taken this 4th gas geyser a little bit earlier. And Zenio going to come in with this Overlord, but there is only a little bit of anti-air just popping out a little bit late. It looks like Zenio retreats a little bit with that Overlord. Then, oh, he actually reconsiders as he can actually get a really nice scout off on this Stargate. He sees the Chrono Boost. Does he see the Stargate? Yes, he does, and he should actually be able to see. You can see it just barely that there is the image of the Void Ray right there, so he should know what is coming up. But the question is, how exactly is HasuObs going to follow this up? I mean, you have seen a lot of old school style builds with that Stargate play where you go for the Void Ray. You could be going for +1 weapons research. I mean, Zenio didn't see whether or not the Forge was actually researching anything. So he doesn't know, are there just going to be more Void Rays coming in? Oh my god, we actually see more Void Rays coming out. This is a really interesting play from HasuObs. But, I mean, you have seen some games where, for example, Protoss players will go for a +1 weapons with a ton of Zealots as well as a Void Ray and maybe even a Warp Prism. But, I mean, lots of different kind of pressures you can do. You can just go with 2 Stargates, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We're going to see a robotics facility coming out from HasuObs. So just additional gateways being thrown down. A lot of additional gateways actually now starting to go up, and they should actually be up in time for a 10-minute timing push. And this Void Ray just kind of chilling over here in the bottom right-hand corner. We're going to have to see how much damage you can do as this one stalker pokes around, just gets a sense of how many units there are from Zenio, just tries to do a little bit of damage. Also just maybe see whether or not Zergling's speed is researched, and in fact it is not. So slow Zerglings, but that is not going to be the issue, because the issue is going to be these air units, and it looks like this Overlord getting focus fire down. This Queen starting to work its way on that Void Ray. The Void Ray actually managed to snipe off of one of those Overlords, and that's going to be quite annoying for Zenio. He actually doesn't have any Overlords building, just now starting him, and does get away with that Void Ray without really taking a whole lot of hull damage. It looks like a 3rd Void Ray on the way. The gateways are finishing up. There is no weapons research going down or anything, so I mean, Zenio just has to be able to hold off against this. I feel like just based on how Zenio, or how HasuObs is kind of distributing his resources, we're going to see a lot of Zealot Warpins, and really quickly, I really want to see HasuObs get up some of those proxy pylons, as he is definitely going to need them if he wants to put on any kind of gateway aggression. We end up seeing the Void Ray starting to move out. Those 2 Void Rays actually pulled up while this one Void just tries to do a little bit of damage. He is going to kind of just pick away at some of those Zerglings, but Roaches are now out on the map. +1 weapons research going down, as well as actually pathogen glands and infestation pit is already done. So we're going to have to wait and see, are the infestors going to come out in time? These Zerglings are going to try and buy some time, try and pull these Void Rays back, but it looks like, oh my god, a sentry drop over in the main with a Warp Prism manages to land, and we actually end up seeing one of the Void Rays gets taken out by the Queens. Oh no, that's actually a very terrible blunder by HasuObs. He needs to keep these Void Rays alive, but manages to snipe off, just barely keeping that Queen alive. And Zealot having a little bit of indecision of whether or not to chase down that Queen. I feel like it would have been worth it to go for it, but he's going to continue to force field this ramp. He needs to get up some units over here with this Warp Prism, though. He needs some weapons, some Zealots or some Stalkers to deal with those Roaches and buffer for those sentries, as those 2 Voiders should be able to work their way on the actual Roaches themselves, as well as even be able to pick off the Queens. But he has to be very careful. He cannot afford to lose them. One of the Voiders is looking like it's going to go down. That is actually another terrible blunder. So it looks like even though HasuObs is doing a good job force fielding out all these units, he has to be very careful as he's running very thin on buffer units. As we actually end up seeing a bit of a missed force field from those sentries. A ton of Zerglings actually managed to get up over into the main. The Roach cannon is also just a little bit overwhelming. The last Void Ray gets taken out. 4 sentries lifted up into the Warp Prism, and that is going to spell an end to HasuObs' aggression over there. But what does HasuObs get in the end? Let's see. He has killed 3 workers. That is it. And we can see, 10 drones on the way as well. We can see 74 drones to 51 probes, and Zenio definitely having the lead over there. Already has a 4th established, has infestors out, has his pathogen glands done and finished researching, already has his gas geysers going up over there. And what does HasuObs have? He's missing his 3rd expansion. That is the most important thing. He's also missing upgrades. We can see he hasn't done a +1 weapons research. He's just now starting +1 armor. He's going to be getting up another forge to try and catch up a little bit on those upgrades. But, I mean, even his army isn't very big. He has 3 immortals. Yeah, that's going to be very helpful, of course. But look at this. I mean, these 3 sentries plus the 4 sentries over in his War Prism, is that going to be enough to deal with this army sitting out at the center of the map or right outside of his natural expansion? He has the Observer, so he can definitely see it, but he has to be careful. I don't know if he can actually move in to try and secure a third at this point. The Zealot's going to block those Zerglings from actually being able to come in. He's going to be able to do a little bit of damage. Has to be careful not to lose a Cybernetics 4, as that will definitely halt a good chunk of the production. Now, we do actually have a Robotics Bay already finished up and a Colossus coming out. Thermal Lance also being researched. He should actually be able to maybe move out once he gets out 2 Colossus, maybe 3 Colossus. It's going to be so difficult, though, because that's going to buy so much time for Zenio. Just get up, oh my god, a 5th base, as well as just continue to build up energy on those Infestors. And we actually end up seeing Zenio just doing a fabulous job baiting out Force Fields, just keeping HasuObs back in his base, saying, no, you're not allowed to take a 3rd expansion. Not on my watch. I have Infestors, I have Roaches with +1 missile attacks and soon to be +2 missile attacks in about 10 seconds. So Zenio being so far ahead right now. We can even see, even though Roaches are not exactly the most cost or supply efficient unit right now, they are, Zenio's still 50 supply ahead and actually snagging a Colossus. That is a huge win for Zenio right now, as I mean, he just, HasuObs cannot afford to lose Colossus like that right now. He has to be careful with this Colossus as it gets fungal growth, cannot actually retreat with that, but it looks like Zenio just does not have the units in position to actually snipe that one as well. This Colossus is surviving with the skin on its teeth, as it just barely only losing shields, and it looks like Zenio really wants to go in over here. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to actually push in. Some infested Terran eggs being lobbed out, but he has to be careful not to use too much of the energy too wastefully, as I mean, yeah, he's going to buy some more time. He's going to delay HasuObs from actually being able to get out over there, but is it worth it? I'm starting to question that, but I mean, hey, you can't deny that he's doing a fantastic job just stopping HasuObs from having any chance of being able to take this 3rd for quite a bit of time, as in the meanwhile, Zenio just using that time to build up more units, starting to lob out some more Infested Terrans. Not exactly the most effective Infested Terrans, but still doing a good job buying time, because you know what? At this point, Zenio knows he can trade cost inefficiently, because he has a 4th base up, he has a 5th base up, and his 4th base is also mining, so that means that he's way ahead in economy. You just take a look at the income. He is almost doubling the income of his opponent. So hey, if you can afford to just throw away some units like that, go for it. He's even building Mutalisk. This is going to be so difficult. What does Zenio have to deal with that? He has maybe a couple of Stalkers. Yes, no, he doesn't even have Blink on them, actually, and that's going to make this even more annoying. It looks like HasuObs trying to move down, trying to secure that 3rd, has that 3rd going up, but I think that Zenio sees it. He's just going to go for it. He's going to go for it with all those Zerglings, trying to get a surround on those sentries. It looks like a couple of those Zerglings getting some good hits off, but those sentries, for the most part, staying alive and doing a good job forcing really, really well. A couple of those units could have actually moved in over at the main base, but this Colossus, wow, he is building up a ton of kills, but look at this, all of those infested Terrans just sniping off the sentries, and there's going to be the GG. Well played, as we actually end up seeing those Mutalisks getting to work over in the main base, and HasuObs just unable to hold on. So really well played by both these players, but unfortunately for HasuObs, Zenio was just able to overpower his opponent and take game number 3, putting him into the round of 8 of IEM Singapore. So congratulations to LiquidZenio, showing that, you know, he doesn't even need just pure Broodlords to actually move on against the Protoss opponent, as his mid-game is also pretty strong. He can just build up on those Infestors, keep his opponent contained to those 2 bases, and in the meanwhile, take a ton of bases behind it, build up that Roach Zergling army, and eventually just say, you know what? You haven't been mining for long enough. I'm going to go ahead and just end this. I'm going to put you out of your misery, and that's exactly what happened. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this commentary in any capacity whatsoever, in which case, if you did, please go ahead and subscribe to me, as it's definitely helpful. It lets you guys see whenever I upload casts. And also, if you feel so inclined, you can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/FearDragon64. And yeah, regardless of, or I guess beyond all of that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a blast, and I'm going to be bringing you more stuff from IEM Singapore over the next couple of weeks, as, yeah. I will actually say, though, I am in the middle of Dead Week. I'm going to be approaching my final period soon, so that means I'm going to be super busy, and after that, I'm going to be heading home just to spend some time with the family. So What that's going to mean for you guys is that's going to mean that I'm going to have slightly slower casting cast release. That's going to mean that probably 1 cast per day, even in the best of 5 series. I really hate doing that, but unfortunately that's the only way that I can really afford to try and upload games consistently, even while I don't have my desktop, because when I'm over at home with the family, I'm not going to have my desktop, so I can't upload casts, I can't render casts, I can't do any of that. So I'm just going to try and get 1 cast released a day for that specific purpose. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you for sticking around. I definitely appreciate it. But I will see you guys in the next round of 16 of IEM Singapore series. I'm pretty excited, guys. Next one I think is going to be Stardust Light versus Grubby. I guess just Grubby, because Grubby is on Team Grubby, as he's just super awesome like that and has his own team where he represents himself. But regardless, yeah, I'll see you guys there.